guys. It's that was definitely a Twitch TV thing if you were dropping frames there randomly. Oh, actually, no, pardon me. That could have been local if you were dropping frames randomly. Not really sure what is happening there, but fortunately, we are now back. And we are going to be going back into what will basically be an incredible series. Hopefully, everything stabilizes here between NaNiwa and MorroW. MorroW going for that spawning pool at a fairly typical timing, going for that hatch first, of course. In the meantime, NaNiwa opting to go for a gateway first in his main base, and then going straight for the Nexus, grabbing his gas now. Interesting to note that there is no forge here, going with a gateway opening into Nexus.
Wow, that's pretty cool. By the way, don't forget to put the stream back on Team Liquid since it's fallen off because it crashed.
Good point. I will go on and do that right now.
Sweet, so we got everything streamlined here again, guys. Sorry for that small crash, but we are good to go again. The first Zealot's coming out for NaNiwa as he goes for the Cybercore. Very weird thing to be going. I mean, he did get a pylon at the low ground, but he hasn't really utilized it. We'll have to see how MorroW is going to react to this. Is he just going to take a standard 3 bases, or is he going to try to apply a form of pressure? Of course, this front is super vulnerable to any kind of roach attacks. MorroW even getting a Spinecrawler right now. Doesn't want to produce Zerglings early on, but instead is going to rely on Spinecrawler for the defense. Still no gas being mined for NaNiwa. He mined 50 gas, and then he's gone back into mineral mining. So what is he saving all these minerals for is what I'm wondering. He gets the warp gate research started with those minerals that he's saved up, but he's still not mining any of that gas, and he's going to invest it into a forge after all. So he's going to be getting a forge just very, very late.
He is indeed, and I have to say, this is a very ballsy opening coming out here from NaNiwa. I mean, it doesn't look like he's going to be taking too much damage from it. It'll be really interesting to see how this ends up faring compared to what would otherwise be considered a normal build. But both players at this time just perfectly happy to macro up. The worker supply is 26 to 25, now 27 in NaNiwa's favor. The forge is completed, and going to be putting a photon cannon in a place where he can also cover his own ramp, and then just going to be walling off with another gateway. Yep. Meanwhile, we have got a third base coming down from MorroW.
I've tried walling off like this as well. Of course, I'm not Quantic NaNiwa, I'm just a scrub, but I've tried this wall off as well on this map, and I was like, well, what's the downside of this? Well, let me tell you what the downside is. The roaches are going to be able to pick off that pylon at the forge without being able to get hit by any cannon whatsoever. So I was actually in a terrible position because of that, but NaNiwa, I think he's thought this out pretty well. Even though this is a wall-off that I've never really seen used before in any professional game, so I'm sure there is some weaknesses to this, such as bailing busts or roach attacks and stuff like that, because it's not solid at all. It consists of mostly pylons.
Well, the one thing that I think is interesting to read into this wall-off from NaNiwa is we notice that he's walled off, but has completely ignored the destructible rocks over at his third. That to me suggests that NaNiwa might be just going for a 2-base timing. This is not the kind of wall-off you would see from someone who plans on taking their third base anytime soon, simply because there's no easy access to it. So I would not be surprised if NaNiwa is just going to go for an interesting 2-base play here. He's already up to 6 gateways with nothing else reinforcing, so he could be bum-rushing MorroW very, very quickly.
Yeah, he's making nothing but zealots. He's not even mining gas currently. NaNiwa hardly mined any gas in this game, just for warp gate research, and to be able to... Well, actually, he didn't even get +1. He pretty much only mined gas to be able to start warp gate research, and that's about it. He still has 100 gas in store, so he could make a few stalkers. But stalkers, he doesn't need them right now. The roach warren is just now on the way, and MorroW is in so much trouble. The roach warren is only halfway done. This hatchery is definitely going to go down. There are a lot of Zerglings here. These zealots do not have +1, guys. Keep that in mind. That's going to make them a lot less effective versus these Zerglings. The Zealots are actually going to go down really rapidly, as you can see. Normally this would have been a close fight, but the Zealots not having +1, making them 3-shot Zerglings instead of 2-shot. MorroW is going to be able to clean this up, and NaNiwa is not as far ahead as you guys might think. NaNiwa only has 41 supply. He cut workers heavily, he cut tech heavily. Even though he did kill the third base, that might not be enough to put him ahead in this position. Normally when a third base goes down, JoRoSaR, you and I both know that the Protoss is most likely going to end up ahead when the third base falls.
This is really interesting, though, because in that engagement, for instance, NaNiwa could have moved his Zealots back a bit so that the Zealots were in the mineral patches in the third base, and therefore MorroW would have had a much tougher time killing those Zealots, and he didn't. Those Zealots kind of got off for free. I got the impression that NaNiwa wanted to get maybe an extra warp in of Zealots in. That would have probably aided his cause a lot more than what ended up happening in the game. NaNiwa is by no means down and out. at this point, but those Zealots did go fairly cheaply considering he was going to get the third base anyway. He is going for a Twilight Council, though, behind his main base. We'll have to wait and see what MorroW's response is. Of course, those Roaches are now potentially up and running whenever he wants them. We'll have to see if he makes use of more numbers of those later on in the game. And in the meantime, he's simply going for +1 melee attacks while double expanding to his third and fourth. So NaNiwa finishes his aggression. MorroW responds by saying, if you don't become aggressive at any point soon, once again, I'm just going to try and get a macro advantage.
Ooh, it's a risky thing to be doing out of MorroW, you know, grabbing that fourth base before he knows whether or not NaNiwa is going to take a third. If
and
NaNiwa
there's
takes...
the Spire.
Ooh, that's cool as well. MorroW going for a Spire this early on. Wow, Nah, Mutalisk switch would be completely ridiculous. I think MorroW is expecting NaNiwa to be going for Colossus on 2 base right now, but that's not what NaNiwa's doing. He's going for a blink all-in, and is the Overseer... Oh, yes, the Overseer is going to see it. He's going to spot the building gateways, he's going to spot the Twilight Council, and he even spots additional Stalkers warping in. So MorroW knows exactly what is coming his way, and trying to go for Mutas right now, or anything out of that Spire, would be a mistake. That Spire is just there in case NaNiwa was going for Colossus.
And this, I think, goes back a little bit to the wall-off we were talking about before. I mean, we saw that NaNiwa's wall-off really wasn't conducive to him taking a third, and therefore, just from looking at that wall-off, you'd go, oh, maybe someone who's going for some sort of 2-base play would make a wall-off like this, and that's exactly what NaNiwa is doing right now. I wonder if MorroW has simply read that and is just trying to blind counter it. Like you said, he has the Spire because he wants to make sure that NaNiwa isn't going for some sort of very quick Colossus play. Once he sees that that isn't the case, he might be able to just be fine. And look at this, we have MorroW now going for a counterattack. He knows that there probably isn't too much going on at the third base, just going to try and head into the natural. Unfortunately, NaNiwa catching him out there, but there are some Stalkers, never mind, being caught out in the middle of the map. NaNiwa has not split his forces terribly well here because MorroW able to pick off a couple of Stalkers. NaNiwa forced to pull back with about a third of his army. The remaining 2/3 now onto creep.
Yeah, here we go. The engagement going to be happening at the natural, and MorroW is going to be running away, trying to get his Zerglings to hit those Stalkers, and they are hitting the Stalkers right now. NaNiwa still has a very scary army. NaNiwa, man, he's pushing in there. MorroW is up by 50 supply, which is what you would need to deal with this Protoss army, but half the army of MorroW is going to go down right now, and the other half is pretty much stuck in the middle of the map, not able to do much. NaNiwa's equalizing the playing field, a big deal here. He can force field wherever he wants. Actually, he cannot because he doesn't have any force fields left. NaNiwa's going up the ramp. Does he have a force field available? Oh, he has one force field. That one force field might be saving the day for NaNiwa here. He will not have a oh, he might have the second one as well. That sentry has 48, 49, 50 energy. So lucky for NaNiwa.
Wow, and getting that force field off might actually be the difference here. MorroW, I'm not really sure what happened there, to be honest. He was playing it so safe, and NaNiwa still hasn't had the game won by any stretch of the imagination. He hasn't got any force fields left, and he's behind by 40 supply. But at the same time, even though this might get cleaned up by MorroW, NaNiwa's going to be able to blink away with some of those Blink Stalkers. And oh, wow, never mind. Only a few of them escape. And maybe that situation just looked a lot worse than it actually was for MorroW, because even though NaNiwa got up the ramp, what damage did he do? He didn't actually get towards the lair. He killed off a couple of Overlords. The number of workers killed in this game is 2 to 1 at the moment.
Oh my god, MorroW killed more workers than NaNiwa in that engagement.
Wow.
What the hell?
We could be seeing a massive Zerg counterattack here, and there we go, the Spire now going to be researching +1 flyer attacks. We knew it was there for a reason, Lyrlian. The just-in-case Spire is kicking into action now, and we'll see what MorroW has planned for the late game, but it looked like just, even though he had those clutch force fields at the end, NaNiwa just becoming 1 or 2 short.
Yeah, NaNiwa was getting the pylon in the main base of MorroW, but the pylon went down. If that pylon would have gone up and and if NaNiwa would have been able to force field this ramp constantly, that could have been the end. And it is going to be a Mutas switch after all. MorroW feels that he's far enough ahead to actually go for Mutas right now. I'm not really sure why he's making this switch. Maybe he wants to base race in case the Blink Stalkers move out for one last attack. That could be a possibility. NaNiwa is going to try to take a third though, JoRoSaR, but there's an Overlord, a Zergling, and a lot of creep there.
Yeah, it's not exactly like this is going to be a secret, is it, Lyrlian? NaNiwa trying to take his third now after that 2-base timing that unfortunately went a little bit sour for him, but it looked like it was going so well for a second. He had me completely convinced. Unfortunately, not quite able to pull it off in the end, and as a result, we have MorroW now more or less maxed out. He is at 193 out of 192 supplies. He'll be making an Overlord just to rectify that momentarily. But he is basically maxed out against a 135 supply NaNiwa. And MorroW might want to try poking and prodding, looking to finish this momentarily, picking off the forward pylons there. And NaNiwa is confined to only 2 bases at the moment. Let's see what MorroW decides to do. Is he going to be attacking the third, or will he just go straight into the natural?
Looks like it's going to be the third here. Is he actually going to try to push up this ramp? Could be a mistake. There's a lot of force fields here, but the force fields do not go down, and the roaches get good surface area. The mutas are flying to their deaths ever so rapidly, but they are focusing down the sentries. That's all those mutas were there for. They're focusing down all the energies with a lot of energy, and only 2 of them remain. MorroW is going to be chased out of here, though. This was definitely a very good engagement for NaNiwa, and an engagement that is bringing him back into this game. And MorroW, we've seen this before. We've seen this in his last series in Game 1 as well, where he stayed stuck on low-tech units. Now he's doing the same thing again. He's getting 68 Zerglings, and he's reproducing his mutas. I don't think that's a correct decision. He would probably be better off going for an Infestation Pit and getting ready for Broodlords, Hive, Ultralisks, and Infestors, but instead he's going to stay stuck on that Lair Tech, and if he does not end up killing NaNiwa before NaNiwa gets, you know, that Colossi out on the field and everything, if NaNiwa gets those Colossus, the Zergling Muta, it's not going to work.
This is going to be really, really interesting. I mean, I completely agree that he probably could have just gone for Infestation Pit and tried to get up to Hive Tech as quickly as possible, but at the same time, I think he probably could have done that before the start of that last attack, Lyrlian. He could have just teched up and got another base instead of trying to really push through that engagement. He got a lot of sentries killed, but the main bulk of NaNiwa's army is still there. MorroW ahead now 183 to 146 supply. But and I still get the impression he might be ahead, but if he is, it's a lot less than it was before.
Yeah, and here we go again. Pretty much a repeat of last time. I don't think this is going to work, MorroW, or is it? The Zerglings do stream by. They could focus down the Nexus. That's exactly what they're going to do. That might make this attack worth it for MorroW, but MorroW does not have that much of a big bank. He has about 1,000 minerals in the bank, and the Nexus does go down. The mutas are killing off some probes, but once again, every single muta is going to get eliminated here. Good scout going down by MorroW. He sees the Robotics Bay researching, so he knows Thermal Lance is on the way, and he knows Colossi are going to be hitting the field soon. Taking out that third base was good, but once again, heavy losses for MorroW. I'm almost afraid to look at the units lost tab because it's going to be favoring NaNiwa so much. Oh, look at that.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Well, MorroW's game plan is currently just to deny the third base from NaNiwa. We've seen twice now. He tried to go and deny the third base and get out. He has got his fourth base mining, and he's about to take his fifth in the bottom left. There we go. That drone going to be morphing into a hatchery there. And he's going to want to try and starve NaNiwa out at this point. He fell back, produced a lot of Corruptors. We see an awful lot of upgrades, rather, mixing my words up a little bit there, going down for MorroW at this moment in time. He just wants to continuously trade with NaNiwa while he is mining more. And I think that is a fair strategy for him. He just needs to be careful that NaNiwa doesn't get enough time, for example, to get a full wall off or get a lot of energy on his sentries and just get that one beautiful engagement where the Protoss can completely obliterate the Zerg army, where MorroW would be susceptible to a counterattack. As long as MorroW doesn't fall into that kind of situation, he should be standing in fairly good stead here against NaNiwa. If we take a look at the income tab, he's currently mining about 50% more than NaNiwa is, and that's a great sign considering he just maxed out again as well.
Oh, here we go. Here go the Corruptors. They want to take out the Colossi. Good force fields by NaNiwa. This is a beautiful timing for NaNiwa to be hitting because the Greater Spire was not yet on the field. The Corruptors take out the Colossi really, really quickly, though. But do we have enough Roaches and Zerglings left to deal with the ground army? The first Infestors have now hit the field. 46 additional Lings on the way. And NaNiwa, is he going to go back home? I think he is. And that's going to give MorroW time to tech towards those Broodlords that he was teching for earlier. And NaNiwa does not have a Stargate or anything to do with Broodlords, so if the Broodlords are going to be, you know, out on the field and in big numbers, as in 6+ Broodlords, could be a difficult situation for NaNiwa. Even though that trade wasn't the worst, he did lose all his Colossi again, and that's so annoying. You invest so much time and resources into those Colossus, and then getting them picked off without doing, you know, major damage to the Zerg. I don't think NaNiwa is feeling too good right now.
No, that's all MorroW really wanted to do. He just wants to delay NaNiwa as much as possible while he continuously techs up, continuously macros up. Actually, the Greater Spire is only 40 out of 100 complete right now, so still another minute before that finishes off. We'll have to wait and see if that comes to fruition. Will NaNiwa try and poke once again in this particular window? Only one Colossus back out on the field, but he is reproducing a second one. I believe there is only one robotics facility for our Protoss player at the moment, simply because he was on 2 base for such a long time. And look at this, only 3 mineral patches left in the natural, 0 mineral patches left in the main. NaNiwa has to make this a count.
Yeah, NaNiwa has to pretty much kill MorroW right now. Oh my god, that fungal growth on the units. This is as good as the engagement could have started for MorroW. He has 2 more fungals on these infestors, but he's not using them right now. What is MorroW doing? He has Banelings in Overlords, and he has Overlord speed, so he will be able to drop those Banelings the first 6 Broodlords. I was just talking about how 6 Broodlords would be an amazing problem for NaNiwa to overcome, but it looks like he's going to be hitting a good timing before the Broodlords are out. The Broodlords are morphing near the Greater Spire. They are going to get taken out, and so is the Greater Spire. MorroW is going to be forced to engage here. No, he's not going to try to save his Broodlords, and every Broodlord is going to fall here. I don't even think a single one will hit to see the light of day.
Excellent force fields from NaNiwa, preventing the rest of the ground army from coming in as well, and the Banelings are just not going to be able to do enough damage. MorroW looked like he was doing so well, but that last engagement started off with 2 of the best fungals I've seen in a long time. Then it followed up with just too much waiting, I'm afraid, Lyrlian. It just didn't happen quite as fast as he otherwise would have liked. And NaNiwa making use of those Broodlords not yet being out on the field. It looks like NaNiwa is going to be taking the win in game number 1 here, because I don't see a counterattack coming out of MorroW.
No, looks very much like it. Once a Protoss gets in this position in the Zerg base, it's pretty much impossible for Zerg to engage. MorroW tried to buy time for his Broodlords to finish, but instead he should have just engaged with whatever he had when NaNiwa was still on the low ground. Sure, he would have had a hard time because he didn't have Broodlords yet, but now he is going to be losing this game 100% sure. GG comes out of the former Mouse Sports player as MorroW leaves the game.
So NaNiwa going to be taking game number 1 after MorroW looking pretty good there at some points in the mid-game. NaNiwa with an excellent timing back when MorroW was trying to get his Broodlords on the field. Of course, a lot of people say that's the time where people usually expect Zergs to be weakest, when they have a lot of supply and Corruptors that they can't morph into Broodlords, Lyrlian, and that's exactly what we saw in that game number 1. So stay tuned, guys. We'll see what MorroW can do in game 2.